Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm an Airbus pilot, and today we're going to fly the Airbus H160. Now, don't get me wrong there, I'm not an Airbus helicopter pilot and my helicopter skills are a little limited. However, I do believe that we are going to have quite a bit of fun. The H160 has just been released by Hype Performance Group a couple of days ago, and we are sitting here in the very first version of it, which is quite a lot of fun to fly. But before we start flying it, let's have a very quick look at the external model, starting just in the front over here, and with the very first thing over here being a lot of scratches on the windshield, as you can see over here, which makes quite a nice look from the inside though, I have to say. So the same goes for going a little bit further down, a lot of scratches here that you can see on the windshield. Also you can see we've got the pitot covers installed in a moment, but that is something I'll show you a little bit more about once we've finished our basic walk around. You can already get an idea down here on our tablet that we are able to change quite a couple of those options, but I'll show you more in a few moments. Alright, going back further outside, let's have a very quick look at the quality of the doors down here. And once again, the remove before flight covers. Before we move on to the tailplane, we've got the baggage door up here, which can be opened as well. And then we can see a lot of nice detailing here on the texturing of the model. What I do notice, however, is that in some occasions, like just over here, we've got some really high quality textures. But then looking a little bit further down, the quality of the textures is a little bit worse, and there are quite some noticeable edges there between what's a decal texture and what's really good. So another example for that we can see on the door up here. Where we've got some really high quality on the glass, but then some little bit lower resolution textures on the outside. Nothing you see from a decent distance, so if we're looking at it even like here, which is still really close, you don't really get to see that. Alright, moving on to the back of our H135 helicopter, we've got the tail rotor down here, and on the other end side I opened a couple of the doors for you, so that's our baggage compartment here in the back, and then moving a little bit further forward we can open the passenger doors as well on both sides, and looking inside we've got some really good quality on the textures of the passengers, but more on that as we get to depart on our flight to Los Angeles. Alright then, with our walk around basically done, let's go ahead and have a very quick look into the different options we have for our parked aircraft. So starting from the inside, here is our door control panel. This is like all the doors we can control, but we can also just take the door handle on the inside and operate the doors with that. Alright, enough of the doors, let's have a very quick look into our load manager over here, where we can basically load passengers and cargo as we see fit. And then we can also have a look into the equipment over here, and we've got several different other options. Now let me just show you the wind, ice and snow option. You'll see it gets a little red really quickly there, and it might be a good idea to close those doors. Alright, here we go. So let's have a look at how that looks from the outside. This is what it looks like when we've got all the covers installed. So we've got the wind option, which is the blade tips up here being bound to the fuselage. Then we've got the cover for ice and snow for the windshields, as well as for the tail rotor, which is really neat feature. Okay, now let's get rid of all of those. Let's see. The pitot probes are gone as well. Gives us a nice little chance to look at the top of the engine inlet over here, together with the little protectors they have in front over here, so that foreign object debris can't enter that easily. Alright, so that is the look on the outside and on how our airplane is stored. So let's now move to the inside again, and quick look over here. We've got everyone on board, as we should. We can put a pilot in place as well, but I find that to obstruct a little bit of the instruments, so for that reason I do prefer to keep the pilot out, like so. Even though in the options you can define if you want to see pilot or not. So you can see loads of different options over here where you can make such settings. Alright, so in here as well on the setups you can change a lot of the flight controls and stuff like that, but I've kept everything at default for now and it does feel quite good on the very first idea. So let's just keep it at that and let's take it flying the way the developer wanted it to fly. However, as you can see, you can change a lot of that stuff as you see fit. That's just one of the many apps that we have down here, but that shall give us a very good first idea of what we can do. Also note that you've got the possibility up here to change a couple things, like I could swear I saw an option to change the lights up here, but what I actually wanted to mention is an option to remove external power, but I suppose that's got to be hidden somewhere in those hundreds of options we have in here. Alright, when we're done with the tablet and we don't need it anymore, we can just get rid of it and fold it off to the side. So, with that done, there is a very easy to use manual that comes with the product that has the procedures laid out so easily that I am not even going to go over too many of them because it really becomes too easy for you to learn them. We'll have a closer look into the cockpit as we get flying, but for now I suggest we fire our Airbus up and get going. And surprise, with this being an Airbus, it handles just about as easy as you would expect an Airbus to handle. So let's turn on the power. Over here we've got our external power. We could use that as well, however we don't really need to. It can be started from the battery just nicely. Alright, with the Airbus powered up, we power up test is okay, and any new messages shown in the box, as you can see, we acknowledge that. Here we go, now they are done. Weight computation is in progress as well down there. Payload, we've got, let's make a quick counting there. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 people on board. That is quite many. So, I tell you what, we're just going to tell it we've got something like 1,700,000 pounds on board. And that shall be it. Alright, very good. So, let's have a quick look into the status, into the report from the previous flights. But I didn't close my simulator correctly, it seems, so that data wasn't saved. Okay, well, we are fine with that. And the configuration looks good as well. Okay, very good. So, let's get on those numbers. Just makes the display look a little bit more cramped. That's why you can deselect them if you want to. In any case, let's go ahead with our procedures. So, the plane is now powered. Let's go ahead and turn on the radio altimeters and the FMSs. Then we can do the light test.
Audio test.
With the integrated audio test. And we can see that all the light bulbs are indeed working. Okay, looks good. So then, down here on the lower side, we can arm the emergency exit lights. Seatbelt signs can come on. So, position lights on, and let's turn the anti-collision light to red as we're about to start up our engines. Alright, so, very quick flight plan setup. We're going towards 58 Charlie Alpha. Here we go, and for the comms, go to 1228 in COM 1, and then we'll take 1215 in COM 2. And that's it. Perfect. Alright, very good. So, before we do any of the rest, let's go ahead and commence our engine startup. So, on the lower console, we've done our setup. Then on the forward console, the parking brake is set. You may ask yourself, why does an Airbus helicopter does have a parking brake? Well, look at that. It's on wheels. But you'll see more about that as soon as we actually take it taxiing. Okay, cool. So, for the weather radar, well, we aren't going to need that today, so I'm just not going to touch the display yet, but I will show you something about it later. Okay, so then let's go ahead. On the first flight of the day, we're going to turn on the auxiliary hydraulic pump over here, then do a very quick check of the cyclic, see that everything is working, which it is. And then we can turn the pump back off again. Okay, that much for our pre-flight procedures. I told you it's an Airbus. I told you that's quite easy. Okay, so let's go ahead. We'll start engines 1 and 2 in sequence. Engine 1 start. Right, engine is starting up. The blades begin to spin. We're getting a hydraulic low pressure warning. That is acknowledged and expected. Okay, good start on engine number 1. So let's go ahead with engine number 2. It's an Airbus. That's about as easy as it gets, isn't it? Okay, the warnings are all acknowledged. Startup test okay. And that looks to me like we've got 2 good engine starts. Then let's go ahead with the remainder of our procedures. So, ground power unit is basically disconnected. Then let's go ahead with the auto flight control system pre-flight check. We're going to turn them all on. Then click the quick disconnect button, and we can see both work, and then we can turn them back on again. And all of that is basically done through your cyclics, so I have assigned those to my joystick as well. Okay then, on the overhead panel we've got the pre-flight test switch, so we're going to carry that out. So pre-flight test in progress at the moment, and once that is done we are going to start our taxi. Takes a little while though for this to complete, so in the meantime let's go ahead and grab our latest weather. So on the tablet we've got the METARs, and we're at Kilo Alpha Victor X-Ray. Let's look that one up. And here we go with our latest weather. Altimeter 3011. So mark the barrow, and then on here can go 3011 once, twice, and 3 times. Okay, so we've got the pre-flight test okay. And here we go. Then we can put the engines into flight. Now they're running up. Give them a little while. And here we go. Okay, both engines are ready. Then, nice feature here for taxiing your Airbus is that camera that you've got in the back. Let's go with a high resolution map. It's, well, a little bit simplistic here in the sim, but then again it does provide you with a nice little overview from the outside. Okay, cool. So we're pretty much done with that. So let's switch on the landing lights. System number 1. Park and brake off. Okay, let's see. The flag is showing us the wind coming from the left, so we are going to turn out to the right for our departure. So let's give a little bit power. Between 1.5 and 2.5 should be all we need to start taxiing. Sometimes a little bit more when it's hot or when we are really heavy. Here we go. Okay, brakes checked. And here we go. In terms of the taxi, I do really like the way it taxis, however we need to be a little bit careful that we keep the helicopter sticking to the ground close enough. So you need to play a little bit with your power. That's your FLI gauge over here, that's basically your power. Like now I'm increasing, now I'm decreasing it. And you basically have a careful look at that and make sure that you've got enough grip to the ground when you're taxiing the H160, because it does have a little bit of a tendency to start floating when you get too quick. Remember, just like a conventional straight wing aeroplane, when your helicopter speed increases, your lift also increases. So you want to make sure that you've got enough traction on the ground there while you're taxiing it. But this is working quite nicely, isn't it? It's interesting to see on the left side over here how you've got the actual satellite image down there, while on the outside we obviously got the improved airport from Microsoft. That's really neat to see. Alright though, we know that we are clear of obstacles now, so let's switch back to the nav display. Okay, let's see, nav source FMS, here's our route string on the map. Okay, then we can taxi into position and hold. Anti-collision light going on white, that is the strobe lights basically. And it's quite a large helicopter here. When you go into the turns too quickly, you will really start seeing it topple over. Keep in mind, the helicopter has the engines on the top. That means you've got a very high CG on those things. Alright, and here we are in position. So, before takeoff checklist. Flight performance computed. Park and brake off. AFCS upper modes off. Decision altitude, decision height and barrel setting. Checked. Transponder. Going to be a quick VFR flight, so transponder is on. So no floats installed and the message list down here is checked. That's the before takeoff checklist complete. Alright then, let's get going for our very first flight in the H160 from Hype Performance Group. And obviously for that I am going to switch on the weather radar, or at least the 2D top-down view as well. Do have a look at that. When I switch it on, it still tells me weather transmission inhibited, because we're still on the ground, and you might easily harm people on the ground when you start transmitting your weather radar. Okay, though. That's it. Let's get going. Okay, 10 degrees pitch down, we start accelerating, we're looking for 65 knots. And when the 65 are achieved, we're gonna pull up the nose and start gaining altitudes. Here we go. Okay, positive climb, gear up. And with that, we are on the way. We're not going to climb very high, just 3,000 feet for us, as we'll have to descend soon again in order to get below the Los Angeles arrivals. So, being an Airbus, you let go of the stick, and the fly-by-wire is doing its awesome work. Right, let's start moving over to the left into our intended direction of travel, like so. Note that I am climbing rather slowly, just 500 feet a minute over here, because I want to keep my cabin comfortable for the passengers. You don't have a pressure cabin in the H160, so you gotta be a little bit careful there that you treat your passengers with care. Alright, so on my cyclic I have assigned a button to activate the autopilot, and when we do that, I'm clicking the button now, you can see it engages in altitude, heading and speed modes. Now again on my cyclic I've got the altitude bug, and I'm moving that one up a little bit. We still want to go to 3,000 feet. Alright, like so. Keeping the heading until we've intercepted the route, then I'm going to couple the FMS to our lateral navigation, and that is gonna be it. Then we'll be on our route towards Los Angeles and have another look at some of the other parts of the aircraft. Okay then, leveling out. So the autopilot controls for the 160 are located just down here. With one exception, the nav mode is on your displays over here. So you've got the couple mode down here. FMS is selected. Now you can change it around when you click on the nav button up here, or when you click on the nav button up here, but we're basically on it, so let's press couple mode, and now the autopilot is going to follow our route. However, I do want it to speed up a little bit, so you can see down here we've got the EAS button, and you can see the target speed bug up here, so let's go ahead and increase that a little bit. I would say something about 140 knots looks like a good speed, so you can see how it's automatically adjusting power right now, in order to start picking up speed while it maintains the rest of our numbers. I did notice sometimes it seems to go a little bit into the overtorque automatically, but I haven't really found a pattern with that yet. Alright, cool. So we have already had quite a look at a lot of the different features of the H160 and had a look at the quality of the modeling of the texturing on the outside, but let's use a little moment to have a look at the inside as well. We've got 14 minutes to fly, and we've got a little while until we can start enjoying the coastline of Los Angeles, so hey, tell you what, let's go ahead and have a quick look at the awesome look of the H160. Alright, let's go inside. So, that was a quick tour of the outside. Now let's have a look at the inside and some of the details that went into that model. Even if I'm going as close like I am right now to the panel, everything still is totally crisp, very good looking textures. Now that's the engine panel on the other inside here. We've got the switches for radio altitude, for the FMS and so on. And that is looking really good over here as well. Talking about the FMS, there are a couple different options that we've got on the tablet up here. So if we have a quick look into that on the aircraft, we can see that we basically got three options over here. Right now I'm using the PMS-50 GTN 750. But note that you can also use the GTN XI by TDS. However, using that is not going to send data to your data fields down here. That's the reason I decided to go for the PMS-50 unit. In the future, you will get a CMA 9000 nav computer in the plane. So this is what it looks like. Right now they've only got the radios covered on it, but it is going to be eventually updated all the way to feature the full model. So just reinstalled the PMS-50. It does take a while until it comes back on. In some occasional cases it didn't come on for me at all, but here we go, here it's coming. Okay, good. So, in terms of the tablet, we've got a lot of features. The most important one is obviously Flappy Bird, so let's get ready and do something against the sheer boredom of flying across the Pacific Ocean, shall we? With a left click you control your bird, but you better make damn sure that this is not colliding Well, you guys know this, do you? Certainly you've seen this already if you've got the H145 from Hype. Alright though, well, I do suggest we eventually gotta strike our bird, so let's put that thing away. Apart from that, lovely little features in here, like a little nav map integration, but the maps and missions is something really cool. On here you can basically integrate missions into the thing, so you've got test missions over here, stuff like that, and you can also build your own. Really cool thing. Apart from that, failures and maintenance, another nice thing for you to see over here, as you've got quite a couple of failures that you can trigger in the H160 helicopter. Now, leaving that behind, in the documents folders you basically can put things like your normal procedures, but note that this is still a little bit out of date. You can see this is still from the H145 and not from the H160, so that's something that they can still improve on, because these are not currently the correct procedures for the plane, but I'm sure with the next update that stuff is gonna be fixed. Alright, so as you can see, that is basically the electronic flight bag that we've got in here. Click in the middle again brings up this. What's really nice here is that autopilot shortcut. Using these shortcuts you basically don't need to do any button assignments on your cyclic or on your collective, so you can handle all the things like the autopilot controls and everything right from here, from your tablet, if you so desire. Okay, let's get rid of that, because another cool feature that we have to talk about on this rather short flight is the navigation display and all the features integrated in it. I'm just going to start with the navigation display and with the different modes that we have available in here. So starting with the map key up here, we can change things like, let's say I want a topographic scale on the map, then let's switch that active, or we can go for a satellite view. Or we can take the vector or the vector dark, depending on what kind of situation we want. Also, we can obviously disable it all the way if we want to. Then you've got the D-map feature, which is basically a large version of the map, and it's offering a little bit more details as well. Like on this one, if you're flying in the Aerosoft scenery for the North Sea, then you can see all the oil rigs and the ships and stuff like that. Just like over here you can see all the airports and details like this. Lots of different data that you've got on here that you can either show or hide in this map. So it's really nice. MSFS, point of interests, and so on. Alright, also up here you've got the most important navigation data for your flight. Now, again, you're familiar with that. Alright, so we start to get over Los Angeles, so let's descend as we're about to cross above Los Angeles International Airport. So what we're gonna do, let's switch to heading mode. You can find that thing down here, heading. Then let's turn left a little bit to make sure that we overfly the airport exactly in the middle. Right, and here we go. So the airport's just over there. Over here we've got another one, so it's Los Angeles, guys. It is just that busy. Okay then, let's also go ahead and start the descent. I am using my joystick assignment for that, and you can see it automatically starts following. In my opinion, the autopilot goes to a rather high rate of descent here, 1500 feet a minute, but then again, it might or might not be realistic to have it that way. Alright, we're going to go down all the way to 1000 feet, which is going to keep us at a safe altitude below all the IFR traffic that we'll find over here. Now, going back to the display, we've also got the vehicle management system, and in here you can basically see all the different systems that you've got in the plane and your synoptic displays, quite similar to what you're used to from your Airbus airliner aircraft. That one's especially nice here with the flight controls, where you can see your user input, steady down there, the simulator output, and then you can see also what the airplane itself is doing. So that's pretty cool. That is really pretty cool. Also, on the primary flight display, we have the synthetic vision available if we go down here, which is a neat feature as well. But as you can see, the thing is really feature-packed. Also down here on the navigation display, can change everything around. We can show our conventional needles, all the lovely stuff. So it's daylight right now. That makes it a little bit harder to show you the night lighting, but let's get to that in a moment. First of all though, let's go to direct to flight plan, and we're going to want to go direct to our destination again. Activate, and the nav mode should couple now. And here we go. Alright, we're going to fly just through the approach of Los Angeles International Airport. So let's descend a little bit lower. We'll go down to 500 feet. Just to be sure that we're actually staying clear of everything. So I'm making it 600 because the terrain is obviously rising a little bit as we go inward from the coast. But for police helicopters at least, between 300 and 500 feet is normally where you'd find them. Alright. Couple of obstacles coming up over there, but we should stay well clear of them. So a really nice feature again on the cockpit lighting here is the mode. You'll switch that to night, and you will see in a moment that it is automatically going to dim all the displays, which is really neat. And then you can see stuff like the night vision guidance is going to get even further dimmed. Then over here with a level switch we can bring up the backlighting on the cockpit, and then we've got several different floodlight switches as well. And here you've got that one for the side. In the back you've got the general flight deck lighting and so on. So loads of options to play around with in terms of the lighting. Okay, let's have a very quick look into the back and have a very quick look into the cabin. But before we do that, let's just quickly update our QNH. So Meta, you can give me Los Angeles, please. Look that up. And I've got 3011 as well. Perfect. Okay, and 06087, we'll remember that for our landing on the helipad near downtown in a few moments. Okay, though, in the meantime, we don't need this anymore, but let's go to the back real quick, and let's have a quick look into the passenger compartment. Right now, there's two versions available. We've got the civilian version, which is the one that we're basically sitting in right over here, and then we've also got the VIP config, which has a little bit nicer seats, and most importantly, less of them. And both are available in your aircraft selection menu. Nice detailing here on the clothing of our guests, and generally good passenger models that I can see over here. Do note, you can actually handle your doors from here as well. However, just for the purpose of it, I'm not gonna touch it right now. Alright, what's really nice as well is the model of our first officer here. That's some really high detailing, so she looks quite good in terms of the modeling here. I need to be careful with what I'm saying, my girlfriend's probably listening in on the recording. In any case, looking pretty good. What's interesting though, when you get really close to the hat basically vanishes.
Warning, obstacle.
Ooh, obstacle warning. Well, we do seem clear, but the radio altitude shows us down at 300. Again, that's where the police helicopters are flying. So we are transporting a couple of police staff today from Catalina Island back to the back to downtown. So we'll just stay down here. But normally this is a little bit low for where we are allowed to fly. I did find the HTOS, the Helicopter Terrain Awareness System, a little bit reactive in this plane, if I can call it like that. What do I mean? Well, basically when you land at an airport, it still can throw you terrain warnings off, which is a little bit odd seeing that you're landing on an airport. So that's just something I came across with when I did a couple of test rounds over here. The good news, however, is you've got the HTOS switch down here. You can either put it on mute, then you're just going to get the visual alerts for your terrain warnings, or you can just put it completely on standby, then the thing is just going to shut up. But I'll just leave him on for now to show you how that looks in action. Alright, so 5 nautical miles to run, 2 minutes to go, so we're almost there. And having a look outside, I do believe this is the building that we're heading for. So the autopilot's been doing a great job so far, getting us where we want to go, but for the remainder of the approach, let's just see how the hand flying goes. So again, you've got several different buttons on your controls that you can use to assign activation, deactivation, disengagement of the autopilot, etc. So just have a quick look into the manual to learn which one you're supposed to use in which situation. For example, when disengaging it, you could either do this, which is wrong. See that? So let's just put it back on again. Or you can disengage it the correct way, like this, where you simply remove the active modes from the autopilot. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to the FDS display over here. I'm not a big fan of the synthetic vision personally, even though I do believe it to be quite a nice feature. Also, let's get back to the nav display, which contains a couple more options down here. Okay, map can be deselected. Let's reduce our range up there, and here we go. So, a couple of manual handling exercises here. It basically flies like an Airbus. You do an input on the stick, like a left control now. You level it out, release the stick, and it's holding what you've put in. So let me show you that with the view of the stick inside. Now I'm doing a right hand input, leveling it out, stick neutral, thing goes where I pointed it. The same goes for pitching up and down. And here we go. 10 degrees of pitch, I'm letting go. Then again, it's stable. The same goes the other direction round. So like that, it's really easy to control. Also note that you don't need any pedal input to keep it flying straight. And before I keep flying into the buildings, let's just make an escape for it and find our way out. Well, that is probably a justified warning up there. But I'm gonna show you now what happens when you go... See, that in my opinion is a little bit conservative. And for that reason, I am going to put the H-TORS on standby now to continue the approach. Again, it's probably a little bit of my style of flying this bird as well that has an influence here, but I do believe that it is a little bit sensitive. The good news is, just put it on standby, that's it. Alright, cool, so you can see I've reduced power a little bit. We're around about at the 5 on the scale now, while maintaining my altitude, and that nicely starts bleeding off a little bit of speed here. Now let's try to find our helipad and make a landing for it. You're supposed to approach at 50 knots, 50, and 500 feet a minute rate of descent. Personally, I found it a little bit hard to do it at 500 feet a minute rate of descent, so I'm rather following the visual paths that I'm used to from my fixed-wing aircrafts outside. I know that's not 100% correct, but I personally find it a little bit easier. Alright, 2 nautical miles to run. Finding the correct building, that is always the difficult task when flying helicopters in the sim. I do wonder if there's any tricks involved that real-world helicopter pilots use. Except for knowing the area, obviously. Alright, speed is nicely coming back. Let's maintain the 60 knots for now. They're a little bit fast. A little bit slow for being that early, still 1.5 miles out from our destination. But I do have a feeling it's got to be that big building that we have straight in front of us. And you can see hand flying it is a real joy. Really fun to do. Okay, so helipod inside, it's that big roof that you've got on the front over there. The biggest roof top heliport in the world. We still got a tailwind though, 5 knots of tailwind, so I am going to fly a little traffic pattern here on our approach in. It's got to be a left-hand circuit, obviously, so that we can land into the wind afterwards. On the right hand, well, a little too many buildings for my taste. So I bought and installed the Los Angeles Police and the Los Angeles Hospital heliports from OrbX. Can really recommend those. They add a lot of heliports to the Los Angeles area, making the local helicopter flying a whole lot of fun. Certainly very recommendable thing to get. Okay, so slowly slowing it down, then let's just continue the downward for a little bit longer. 50 knots of speed is looking very good. Tiny bit more power to get rid of that trend vector down there. Okay, let's start the base turn, and I do believe we can turn final straight away as well. Okay, there's our heliport. And we're approaching straight into the wind. Let's get that power off. Looking for 500 feet a minute rate of descent, while maintaining 50 knots. A little bit less power. Landing gear can come down, but as you can see, it's warning us about it as well. Okay. And now comes the hard task of getting us down where we want to go down. That's probably a little bit too low there. The wind isn't particularly helping it. No, just finding excuses. It's my helicopter flying skills, I'll be honest with you. Okay, 6 feet, our designated flare height, and we're down. Okay, cool. So, parking brake is set, and with that we are fixed in place. Then let's go ahead and shut it down and deliver our passengers. So, parking brake is on, collective is at the minimum, cyclic stick and pedal centered, engines 1 and 2. Idle. We're going to keep him in that for about 30 seconds. In the meantime, we can turn our radio altimeters and the ECS off. FMS as well. ECS is selected off down there. Okay, so that is 30 seconds. Then engines 1 and 2 can go off. And as soon as our NR goes below... Now, where's my engine display? Here we go. So as soon as the N2 is below 50%, like now, we can apply the rotor brake, which is really effective in the H160. Have a look at the instrument up here, and now compare it with the motion of your rotor. So this is going really quick now, compared to some other helicopters, that is. And here we go, that's our blade stopped already. Cool. So, the flight is now downloading into the memory of the computer, and we just got to give it a little while until that process is finished. So, download in progress for now. Going to take a little while, as I mentioned. In the meantime, what we can do, if we go down a report over here, we can see a summary of our trip. Block time 33, flight time 24. So that is an okay trip. Alright, so in the meantime, anti-collision light off, landing light off. Then I'll just put the HTORs back on to avoid any failing the next crew. Alright, download complete. So with that we can now go ahead and switch off the batteries and the generators. Like so. And that is basically it. The Airbus H160. Really enjoyable little helicopter there. If you're familiar with the 145, then obviously it is an Airbus as well, so it is quite similar to that. But I'm sure that you are going to love the little differences between the 145 and the 160. In my opinion, very recommendable plane to get. It costs 49 euros at the moment from the High Performance Group store. And to be totally clear, obviously, they did give me a free copy of it for doing this review. However, I can say with confidence that it is absolutely worth the purchase recommendation that I'm giving in this video. So, thank you very much everyone. Let's go ahead and secure our plane again, and then we are going to head off to the offices now to explain why we've just put an aircraft on their rooftop. Right, here we go. Gonna secure it for wind just in case, and this is what you're getting of it when you do that. So with the wind secure pack, you can see we've got both the pitot covers in place in the front, and then we've also got the rotor fixed now to the fuselage of our airframe over here. Alright guys, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, do let me know in the comments down below. I'm very much looking forward to see you all again on the next one. In the meantime, leave a comment to let me know how you like this one. Be sure to leave a like if you did like the video, as it does help with the YouTube algorithms, and then I'm very much looking forward to see you all again on the next one.